Oh, there. Well, I took a look at the notes that I had, and it seems that the ones I showed you yesterday aren't actually the ones that I had set up. I had a small disaster of sorts. When I looked for my slides when I got to class, I didn't have them. And of course, the book issue is a different one. That's getting fixed too. Well, anyway, so what I had before is a good start. We're going to get into the ones actually from Hawkes Learning. So this will be a little bit of a review. So we're going to get into the Hawkes Learning book, the text, and see what we've got. Now, to be honest, the Hawkes Learning slides are sort of boring. But the good news is I'm trying to soup them up whenever possible. So I'm not going to ask you to rate me, but I hope you like these better than what the original ones would have been. So this is section 1.1. We're just getting started. And as I mentioned the last time, statistics can mean two different things. It can mean the science itself, getting, describing, analyzing data, or it can represent the actual numbers or characteristics that you're collecting as part of your survey or your measurements. Notice, population parameter, sample statistic. Remember, population means all the items or people or whatever that you're interested in. Parameter means something about the things in that population. Sample statistic means you've only got part of the population, a subset of the population, that's your sample, and what would be a parameter, but you're only using a subset, is the statistic. So your sample is sort of a sample of the population. It's part of it that hopefully has the same characteristics as the population does. And the statistic is your estimate as to what the population parameter is. The parameter is what you're interested in. That's what you'd really like. The statistic is sort of the same thing, but only for the sample. So what you're hoping is that your estimate, which is the statistic, closely resembles what the population parameter is. And first letters match, like I mentioned yesterday. Population parameter, sample statistic. Remember, sample is just a subset of the population, and if you do it right and are a tiny bit lucky, then the sample is going to look like the population, but shrunk. That's my way of looking at it. So, parameters. Quite often, these parameters are in Greek letters. The Greek letters represent what you'd really like to know. For the statistics, typically those are normal letters like X and S and P and so on. You can usually go by that. It's not 100%, but for your current purposes, that'll do the job. So we looked at this before, population, that's what you're interested in. So keep in mind the interest here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the pen here so I can make some marks occasionally. So population, that's the group. This is what you're really interested in. What are you interested in about that group? You're interested in some characteristic, and that's called a variable. So if you're interested in people's heights, it would be like 5'8", 7'2", whatever. Those measurements would be the characteristics. And the numbers or values or whatever that you're collecting are different from one person or one item to another. That's why it's called a variable. But each one of those values of the variable has the characteristic that you're looking for. The data, also called statistics occasionally, are the counts, because sometimes you just add things up or make a tally, measurements, maybe you see how tall things are, or observations, all kinds of things about the variable. And remember, what you're interested in is the population. Next, the census. The important word here is that for a census, you're fortunate enough to have the variables or the characteristics of every single item in your population, every member of the population. Well, that's super. And you don't have to go to a sample, you've got the entire population, and that is called a census. So remember, the parameter is associated with the population, P and P. Sample, S and S. Sample is associated with a statistic. So, census, parameter, sample, statistic. So here are a couple of items you can try. Hit the pause button, space bar, whatever you need to, and figure out what the population is for A. Find out what the sample is for part A. Write them down on a piece of paper. Have a piece of paper with you so that you can't cheat and say, well, that's not what I meant. I really meant whatever the correct answer is. When you've got it written down, go down to B and make your best guess or answer for what the population is for what they're talking about in part B. And what is the sample in part B? Okay, hit the pause till you have it written down and then move on. So, did you get them? For the first one, part A, for the population, did you say all college students at the University of Jackson? And for the sample, did you say the 359 students who were surveyed? Population, all the ones you're interested in. Sample, the ones you actually were able to ask or measure. Part B, the population. All of what? All of the households in the United States. Did you get it? Sample. Well, not all of the households. You only checked with 1,125 households. That's your sample. Next. Now I'm going to let you go on this one yourself. For each one of these below, you're going to do 3 things. So for number 1, you're going to have a part A, you're going to have a part B, and you're going to have a part C. Hit the pause. Write down your answers for the population, sample, and whether the highlighted value is a parameter or a statistic. Hit the pause. Come back when you've got it written down. Don't cheat. Come on. Number 2. Same deal. You're going to find the population, the sample, and whether the highlighted value is a parameter or a statistic. So read that, put your 3 answers down. When you've got those down, move ahead. See how you did. For number 1, did you say the population was all U.S. adults? Did you say the sample was the 3,930 adults who were surveyed? And did you get 43% was a population parameter? For number 2, did you get the population as all those living in the United States and the District of Columbia? Sometimes we forget that. 18 and older. Did you get the sample as the 2,001 adults who were surveyed? And last of all, the 48%. Did you recognize that as the numbers coming from the sample? So it's a sample statistic. Hope you got them all. If not, what you could do is sneak back in a day, try it all over again. See if you can get it the second time around. Next, 2 branches of statistics. We didn't mention about that today, but there are 2 parts. First is descriptive statistics, and that's where you actually take the numbers, you gather them, maybe put them in a table, sort them, summarize them, display them, make a pie chart, whatever you can, so that you can show the results or what you had to maybe the board, maybe your boss, maybe people out in the population. The second part of statistics is the inferential statistics. Now the descriptive actually takes the numbers that you got and you show it in a picture of some kind. Inferential statistics, you don't actually have what the parameters are. What you're doing there is you're taking a sample and you're estimating what the real population parameter is. Here's a table below here that might give you some ideas of what some descriptive statistics are. Things that notice description, organize, tables, describing the target population, and so on. That's if you have the information. Inferential, you don't have the actual parameters, you don't have access to what you would really like, but you're going to make your best guess, your best statistical guess as to what the population parameters really are. It's an art. Here's a picture that I picked up. This gives you an idea. Statistics split up into descriptive and inferential statistics. And another one that I picked up in case you need another way of looking at descriptive versus inferential statistics. I hope by this third one you've got a fairly good idea. So, let's see if you can do it. Remember, if it's inferential statistics, that means you're going to have to take a sample. So read through this, pause this if you need some more time, write down your answer. That's why you can't cheat, because you've got your answer down there. You can't cheat yourself and say, well, what I meant was that, yeah. No. Write it down. Okay. So here's your answer. How well did you do? Well, I hope you did well. And that's the end of this second intro to statistics. I hope you liked it. I hope I didn't put you to sleep. But remember, if you think you're going to fall asleep, hit the pause button, get some Mountain Dew or something with some sugar, and then come back and continue. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.